Hey there guys, real quick, this is the Elder Dadless, co-host of the Dadless podcast. Today, I'm here to tell you a little something about Anchor. It's the easiest way to make a podcast, and let me go ahead and explain. First of all, it is free, there's no upfront cost, it doesn't cost anything. It's a great way to get started. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Literally, if you're on the go, if you're at school, if you are hiding in the restroom while you're at work, if you're stalking your ex-girlfriend, you can literally make a podcast from anywhere. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many other streaming platforms. Hey, great way to get it out, right? You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. That means that your Uncle Randy, who was twice removed, can help you make a buck. Or creepy Father John, who you chose to stop talking to for many reasons, can even help you make a buck. It's that simple. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That is anchor.fm. I hope you guys enjoy it. Let's get back to the show.
Wanda. Who's doing this to you, Wanda? Wanda.
Isn't that a wonderful beginning?
Yeah, it's really good. What is this? Are you trying to trick me?
Wait, just wait.
When's it get good?
What's up there, little homie? About ready to do this?
Yeah, man, I'm ready.
In this world, if you can't swim, you bound to drizzle. And if you fall, you better pick your punk ass up. That's right. And the rest of y'all,
Wanda, you ready?
don't cut him no slack.
Hey, Freak Joe! You're going nowhere!
1.
I got you for 3 minutes! 3 minutes of lead time!
2.
You got no backup here. I'm calling in Veronica. Veronica, give me a hand.
Y'all fools get busy.
3.
Clobbering time.
We also get a shot of Vision's corpse where Wanda has this crack in reality, basically where the lines blur, and she sees Vision as his, I guess you would say, his true state, where he's dead. His dead body from, the remnants of what's happened from Endgame or Infinity War anyway, is that his Vision's body, which we end up finding out is that she takes him from a lab that Sword is using to operate on him, to study in, I'm guessing. But I mean, it's also one of those things that's mentioned in the comics as well, or that's mentioned in the comics first anyway, is that they use Vision to try to make him just a weapon. And then also the ending sequence where we do see what happened to Monica Rambeau being sent outside of the Hex. They also like really cleverly add Jimi Hendrix's song Voodoo Child at the end, which is like kind of a tie-in, like a tongue-in-cheek just kind of thing for Wanda being the Scarlet Witch anyway. But that was pretty cool. That, and then it is, I guess it sets up the episode for the 70s, the introduction of the 70s anyway. Episode 5 is now in the 80s, and it's called On a Very Special Episode. I didn't know that. I guess there's a slight Easter egg there within the first couple scenes. We now see Vision and Wanda with their kids, and it's kind of like a mundane kind of setting where they're trying to put their kids to sleep because they haven't slept, and almost notably, as the nosy neighbor does, they time Agnes walking in, and Vision being the new dad is very nervous about like, hey, maybe we shouldn't have her handle the kids. And we finally see the first kind of break in whether or not Wanda really is controlling the reality or not that's going on within the Hex, because Agnes takes that cue and looks at Wanda and is like, do you want me to start all over again? Take it from the top?
Yeah, but also not really. We did see that she wasn't controlling the Hex completely in the 3rd episode.
That's one of those things that I was saying where people were saying that was the kids taking control of the reality at that point, because it had to do with their
room.
Their room, anyway.
I could see that.
So, but that is true. Yeah, that Wanda's not completely in control of what's going on within the confines of the hex, anyway. Yeah, Agnes does break that. She does break that fine line between like what's going on and what isn't. Obviously, Vision points it out and is like, did you notice that? Are you not seeing what I'm seeing? And we don't really get a clear answer from Wanda whether or not she is. And she kind of just plays it off. Well, meanwhile, we do see Monica coming out of the hex and going over what happened within the hex, and saying that it is Wanda, it's all her. And we have her medical scans that do come back, and they point out like, hey, this is irregular, and it's like that first hint at whether or not she was affected, and if her molecular structure, whether that being affected is now making her meta or mutant, like how she's physically being affected by that. We also see that the introduction of
got Baby Vision,
which I didn't fucking mind at all.
Fucking ugly.
We have I think this is the first episode where... Is this the first episode where the kids age up?
Yeah, it is. Oh, so Sparky is actually in this in that episode.
So it's
in a very special episode.
So it's the introduction of Sparky, who in the comics, Vision, there is a series where he does seclude himself to like a normal life and builds a wife and kids as well. And I believe he has like an actual dog that is then hit by a car, and then Vision rebuilds him as a synthezoid dog. And that's where the Sparky came from in the comics anyway. I'm not sure about the car part though. But we have Sparky, who, I mean, is one of those characters like... kind of like Cosmo in Guardians, where they introduced Cosmo, the dog, and or like a Howard the Duck, kind of just there, but he's one of those comic characters that makes his way into the series. And the kids age up, so we now are kind of introduced to the idea where, again, it's testing like the boundaries of whether or not Wanda is controlling this, or if the kids are doing this. And I guess it's the first time that Wanda's parents are mentioned by name. So in the episode, it's confirmed Wanda and Pietro were born in 1989, the same year that Elizabeth Olsen was born in actuality, and that the twins are born to parents Irina and Oleg Maximoff. But then they also bring up the Sokovia Accords, and Hayward, being the upright guy that he is, also mentioned that it's. He mentions that it's a not only that what Wanda's doing is a violation of the Sokovia Accords that are established in the end of Age of Ultron.
Civil War.
Is it Civil War?
Civil War.
So that's when the Sokovia Accords are set in place, but then it's also, he's trying to tie it in with the fact that Wanda is violating Vision's like will to live, although he's kind of not a living person. Maybe he's a being, obviously, but whether you draw the line of if he is like a...
And he's sentient, so...
Yeah.
Have you heard of the theory around Hayward? About him being from a different... being part of the multiverse?
Mm-mm.
That Agnes brought him from somewhere else to, like, fuck around and mess with Wanda?
Yeah. No, I haven't.
So the theory more or less goes the fact that he... well, I guess it stems from that when he's talking to Jimmy Woo and Darcy, he's like, she doesn't have any like weird names, just Wanda.
Yeah.
In the X-Men franchise, she's known as Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
So he's almost taken back by the fact that she's only called Wanda
in this universe,
in the MCU.
Yeah.
So there's I think that's the only like ground to stand on, that he's like confused that she's not called Scarlet Witch, because he recognizes her as
Scarlet Witch.
Which I guess that makes sense. I
mean,
could see where he would come from, like the multiverse.
It then kind of it gives the the Pietro theory legs as well.
Yeah.
Because it's like he is recognizable, but he isn't recognizable. And then when it does get to the Halloween episode where he is like,
Well, with Agnes being a Omega level or whatever, I mean, I don't even know if she is a Omega level mutant, but she obviously has that power too, or equivalent to.
yeah,
So she could easily go into the multiverse
and
be like, "Oh yeah, you're coming over here to." I think a MCU is 616.
so Mysterio mentions it in Far From Home.
Yeah,
See, that's the first time that he even mentions anything like that.
but that was brought up as a joke.
But yeah, I was gonna say, but then again, it's like his whole character.
Yeah, his whole character, he's just throwing shit out there. But who knows? I think it'd be pretty cool if he was from like from the X-Men franchise.
Like from their universe.
Yeah,
anyway.
from that universe that he was brought over along with Pietro.
I mean,
But I don't think it carries weight either way.
yeah.
I think he could just be a small man who's trying to make a name for himself.
I get that, being under the shadow of basically someone who hasn't been around, who's under the shadow of, the person who started Sword, almost like I had to work for what I have, whereas you have this free pass because your mom's the boss.
Yeah.
I get that. I mean, that's still a cool theory though. That's tight. I would have never even taken it in that context because of the way he said it.
Yeah, I didn't register to me at all. I saw that as I don't even remember where I saw that one from, but
That's tight.
it's an interesting look at it.
I mean, that scene in itself is funny to me because he's like, she doesn't have like a fancy name.
No weird
like-
names or nothing.
Sick. Yeah, it's true. And yeah, because she isn't as of current. She's never mentioned as the Scarlet Witch.
They probably had legal rights that they couldn't use those names.
Yeah,
Honestly,
I mean,
because it was to deal with Fox
I would think up until now.
up until Disney
I
acquired
would
them.
think up until Disney acquires it, which would also be one of those things where, as of current, what if Agatha does? She kind of tapped into her head, and I mean, in the comics, she does show up as a support character for Wanda in different parts of the series, because they're in the series, Agatha Harkness is mentioned as someone who was part of a hidden guild, almost like Wakanda in the sense of hiding, but then she settles in Colorado or something and becomes a housekeeper for the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, she's a nanny to
To Franklin, right?
to Franklin Richards.
And she's almost like a throwaway character in that sense, but then she also helps Wanda as a teacher almost, and I know she helps the Fantastic Four and Doctor Strange at one point fight off her son, who also a slight nod to Senor Scratchy the rabbit. Her son is something like Nicholas Scratch or
Nicholas Scratch. The actual liver son, Nicholas Scratch.
is that's a nod to that. I mean, the name of the rabbit is a nod to the son in the comics, but this guy's like a Baron Mordo almost, and he fucking unleashes Shumagorath and other multiverse characters, and she helps Doctor Strange in tying up those loose ends and settling that. But yeah, she is almost like a minor character up until recently, where they bring her back as more of a foreboding kind of presence because of her powers. But I could almost see her tapping into Wanda and using her as more as a conduit for power, and being well, you're under my control now, and now you'll be known as the Scarlet Witch or something, to give her a moniker anyway. Because I think Agatha Harkness in the comics has a type of little tagline associated with her as well. One of the biggest mentions in the show is the aerospace engineer, which to quote Monica Rambeau in the series, she says, "I know an aerospace engineer who would be up for the challenge." That was one of those things, because she needs all these specific components and odds and ends to penetrate the hex. And it was one of those things that got people stirring up right away, because being that this is having to do with Sword, and we're trying to pull basically all those resources and connections to the MCU, it was one of those things where right away it got people going to where people were saying that it was going to be Reed Richards, it was going to be Hank Pym. I also read like Doctor Doom. One thing that I threw out, but this was only after like the following episode, the Halloween special. But one character that I threw out as far as like the aerospace engineer was Hank McCoy, because Hank McCoy, as of late, who is also Beast within X-Men, Hank McCoy was also a not an agent of S.W.O.R.D., but he was he had close connection with S.W.O.R.D., and he's also he engineered the
X-Wing.
The X-Wing, there you go. And so I tied it into that. I was like, oh, it's going to be fucking Hank. That'd be sick. But obviously, I think the more realistic connection would have been Reed Richards, which I fucking wouldn't mind at all, because I'd love to see Fantastic Four sooner than later anyway, even in a cameo form. But that'd be dope.
So falling down this rabbit hole here on Wikipedia about all these characters, because a lot of them I'm just not familiar with. Sounds like, or at least what I'm reading, seems like the aerospace engineer is going to be Patsy Walker. She's a female character. She's a superhero. Her hero name is Hellcat. She worked with Hank Pym, or sorry, not Hank Pym, with
Hank McCoy.
Yeah, with Beast. So she has the brains for it. She is also a notable villain of Nicholas Scratch, Agatha's son. Mm-hmm. And everything that's happening right now with Agatha, I'm gonna guess she is testing Wanda's merit in being a wizard and a hero, because Agatha isn't a villain.
No, she's not.
She's not.
She's just
not an ant. She's just a person. She's just a character.
She's just there.
She's there. She decides what she wants to do when she wants to do it. Well, so yeah, I'm gonna say that the big villain for WandaVision is.
I think it's Mephisto.
I don't.
No.
I mean, yeah, I could see it.
I mean, in the comics, Wiccan and Speedster are shards of Mephisto.
But
and
what was I? I was reading something right now that Nicholas Scratch essentially did the same thing that Wanda did, taking over Community.
I think in the comics,
and Agatha helps take that down, like helps free the people of that community.
I think in the comics, that's the community that Agatha leaves. I think Nicholas Scratch kind of turns that community against her, like he But yeah, Agatha has to help get it back under control, help situate it anyway. But I do get that. And I relate it to the fact that it's like everything for the children, and it's all for the children, and children or kids, you can't control them no matter how hard you try. And it's like, what would be something? Oh, well, I guess as far as like contextually, as far as this goes, it's like maybe in this setting she can't control her son, so she basically just fucking imprisoned him in the body of a rabbit. I don't know. But I mean, the way that they're making it seem now, just as far as you're saying,
didn't the rabbit disappear at the end of the last episode? Didn't he just kind of poof out of
the fucking kids poofed, the rabbit poofed. It's the episode itself, like, for being a 38-minute episode, it went so fucking fast. And it was like that third act, that final 10-15 minutes or whatever, was like
stressful.
It was, dude. It was so for being an anticlimactic like first and second half, the third act of that show was like very fucking very climactic. Like, it had a lot of really good build up. Also mentioned in this specific episode is the Lagos paper towel, which I got like right away because we had just gotten done watching Civil War when they're in Lagos, and Wanda's trying to divert Crossbones' bomb.
Okay.
And she throws it in the fucking building and kills everybody. Yeah. So it was like Lagos when you can't clean up the messes that you make or fucking whatever. One of the major happenings of the show is Pietro. The episode itself ends in a very, again, it ends in a very climactic way where Vision is becoming aware of what's going on, and he's like, I can't remember anything from my life, and like I don't know how we got here, I don't know what's going on, and it gets into like a very heated altercation with Wanda. At one point, he's like, you can't control me the way that you control everyone else, and she kind of takes, I would say, tangible offense to that, and is like, oh, can't I? And starts rolling credits on him, on Vision anyway, and he's like, no, like we're not done. And they do have like a pretty drawn out argument where Wanda does end up mentioning like that she can't explain some of the goings on and like what's happening, and then we get a knock at the door to one in the very last, the ending scene, and we get Evan Peters, who was Quicksilver in the reboot X-Men series. I think he debuted in X-Men Days of Future Past.
I believe Days of Future
First?
Past.
I don't think he was in First Class, because First Class was just a heap of shit, and which is also like a very upsetting movie going back and watching it, because it doesn't make make a lick of sense as a wise,
Days of Future Past.
as a wise man once said.
And,
Days of Future Past is a fucking dope movie.
he was only in a few.
I think he was like in the last three, maybe.
Days of Future Past, Apocalypse, Dark Phoenix.
And that was it, right? And then now he's...
he was in Deadpool 2.
Was he really?
Apparently.
As Quicksilver?
Yep. Cameo appearance.
Oh, the ending scene. When he's like, what are all these guys hiding? And they open the door and...
Yeah.
That's fucking tight. Okay. Apparently I was reading something where in Black Widow we're going to see mutants.
I wouldn't doubt it.
I guess there's a scene that confirms that Colossus is there.
Everything with WandaVision to me leads it just shows that they're leading up to bringing the X-Men in,
mutants.
And X-Men mutants and all that. And they're gonna have to tie in Fox. It's just gonna be the multiverse.
I wouldn't fucking mind at all if. I mean, obviously, like you can't beat a dead horse, like. You can only do it so many times with like utilizing the fucking multiverse. But I mean, I think tastefully, if you do it well, like you can introduce like the X-Men. I mean, even within X-Men, when you get into Dark Phoenix, they're up in space. I want to say that they have encounters with Celestials.
I've never watched. That's one of the few.
I've
never watched Dark Phoenix. I've never watched New Mutants.
I'm thinking of the series though, like the old series from back in the day.
I believe so.
Charles has like a love interest that is from up there, and they're characters that also make up. I know one of them was in the. There's a fucking series called like the Thanos Initiative, something like that, and it took place in space. Nonetheless, it doesn't have anything to do with what I'm talking about, but in that old series, the X-Men had encounters with what I want to say are Celestials, or I mean, nonetheless, otherworldly characters that are introduced. And I mean, if SWORD is now dealing with these things, and we have tie-ins with
the Thanos Imperative.
The Thanos Imperative, fucking, I read what 1, 2, or 3 of those issues.
It's only the 6th issue comic series.
And it's that shit was pretty tight. The whole the setting of it is fucking tight. But anyway, like I wouldn't mind if they do it in a way that makes sense. I mean, we had mentioned before previously in one of the past recordings where we talked about what did we say? Something about using the multiverse, but it defeating the purpose of like the deaths.
Oh yeah, so the idea of doing the multiverse and then just Tony Stark's back.
Yeah,
it's a different Tony Stark, but it's
Tony.
But it's Tony. It's like the superior Iron Man, which would be really cool.
It's fucking cool.
It'd be really cool, but
shit,
like it defeats everything that Robert Downey Jr. has done, and it would take away from the past 12 years of.
Yeah. So I relate it to that, but it's also like, I mean, I guess in a way for maybe just certain things it could be done in a sense that works without like disrupting too much within the material that we have already.
They could do it to tie in the X-Men, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, even the Amazing Spider-Man franchise if they wanted to do Spideyverse.
I mean,
where they could intertwine all the properties that they've collected at this point, but to bring a character back from the dead that was so impactful, like Iron Man.
Well,
it seems lazy.
There's also like recently there was a picture that was taken of what's my boy's name? Chris Evans in the cap suit. And they were saying that it could be either a flashback from Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or it could be...
Chris Evans has said that he's
down to...
He's willing to come back. Like, he would come back. They would just have to... I don't know how they would be able to write it. They'd have to write it in such a way.
But, yeah, like, I read that it's either maybe for flashback scenes that will take place in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or it's the idea of, with, like, all the series coming up, that it's maybe like a future works of Cap returning the stones into the timelines that they go to. Like if they do introduce that,
they could even do something to the effect of like Nomad being in the X-Men universe, where he was doing his own thing and he just never caught on as Captain America.
Yeah,
to where he was just on the side doing his own thing, and then when the X-Men come over to the MCU, somehow he also gets dragged along.
But I mean,
to where he shows up and does something real quick in a movie and then goes back or something. I don't know, but
I feel like it can be tastefully done in a way that doesn't like ruin the integrity of
Chris Evans' story. Like the ending for his Captain America,
he wasn't shot.
He didn't die. He
aged out.
It wasn't as impactful as Tony dying.
No. Because there was
I think it'd be well more received if he were to come back somehow.
There was a finite ending to that, to Tony dying. It was like, we draw the line here, like, hey, you're good. Like, we got it. I mean, I wouldn't mind him. Like, I've read like fan things where they're like, oh, what if we end up doing Rescue at one point, and Rescue's Friday or Jarvis or Betty is now Tony. It's just a program. It's not.
Yeah,
it's not Tony Stark, but it's.
Where he just put he just put his like an AI of himself.
Where he's like, hey, like I love you 3000, go get him, kid. Or if we do that with Peter, nonetheless, with Tom Holland.
There's talks of Iron Lad. I mean, Ironheart.
We're gonna get Ironheart, which we thought was Monica Rambeau, but
yeah,
it's not.
No, it's just Photon.
But I mean,
what's his daughter? The actress that played his daughter said she would be down to do to take up the Iron Man mantle. Yeah. I forget what her name was. Iron Kid.
Or
something.
I literally just watched. Well, so there's a weird tie-in with that. With the series now, with everything being introduced, we have Wiccan. We have Speedster. I don't think you're too far off with the daughter being that like Iron Lad or Iron Kid or whatever.
Iron Kid was the kid he met in Iron Man 3.
But
he would have been the best role to play Iron Kid or Iron Lad.
Also, Haley Steinfeld now taking up the mantle as Hawkeye. Basically, Kamala Khan showing up as Miss Marvel. We're having like just
New Avengers.
New Avenger, or is it Young Avengers? New Avengers. Nonetheless, but they're basically
probably both. Honestly, they cross over a lot.
They're sitting like, we're now seeing basically like the settings up of like of Marvel's Teen Titans. The only thing that we don't have is Hulk, or I don't know if it is Hulk or if it's the car or what, but
Hulkling.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Hulkling is Young Avengers.
But we have these sprinklings of like what could be done at this point. I mean, it's a little fucking far of a stretch, but even the young girl that did X-23,
Oh yeah, she talked. She was open about
The same thing as Tom Holland, where she
Yep.
was like, "I'll do it for life.
I'll
fucking
sign a lifetime
I'll
contract.
sign myself away. I won't go to school." Up to the last two episodes here, which we've touched on a little bit, but we have the introduction of Pietro. We're now in the 90s. We get the Easter eggs that are the classic Quicksilver costumes, the traditional Scarlet Witch costume, which is now like a Sokovian fortune teller.
Yeah.
But then the witch was fucking Renee Howell likes that scene, like the face that she makes where she's like, "Oh, I'm a."
Well, that was a big thing for her when she signed on to play Scarlet Witch.
Was the costume?
Yeah, she did not ever want to wear that costume. Well, the comic accurate one where she's not wearing any leggings.
Yeah.
Or it's just a leotard. She never wanted to do it. She's actually come out and complained about like her
The
regular costume.
because it's too much, or
Because
like it's too covering.
no, it's she's the only one with cleavage out. Like all the other heroes all the other female heroes are wearing like full jumpsuits.
Where hers is like a.
Where hers
What do you call that?
shows
shit?
her bust.
I think they call her shit like a bustier.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. They talked about it in Selena, but
Sure. Sure they did.
but
I only watched the original.
so yeah. That's why the original. I'm not gonna.
Oh, you didn't watch the remake?
I'm not gonna watch the remake. Come on. So yeah. So we get the old school Quicksilver costume. We also get the Kick-Ass reference
Tight.
for Evan Peters.
Tight.
I didn't get it right away.
No, as soon as she kick ass, I was like, oh, that's
Did
so
not.
dope.
I did not. I didn't get it until well after, where I watched, because I'm following two other like Marvel sources, news sources or whatever, but then also again from Kevin Smith's podcast where he does mention it as well. I had no fucking clue.
As soon as I saw that they brought Evan Peters back, I was like, they're gonna have to make a reference because they've just been dropping Easter eggs for like old TV shows of those time periods.
Yeah.
I Love Lucy, and all that. There was Full House references.
The Full House reference I got right away.
Yeah.
One of the main things, or two of the bigger things anyway, going on, Wanda actively tests Pietro, like early on. And she's like, hey, like, remember when, this fucking happened? And Pietro is like, oh, I know you're testing me. Like, I don't remember what was going on. Like, I heard your voice and now I'm here. And it's, again, one of the subtle things. I mean, before we know, like, the goings on of the current episode, but it's one of those things where we didn't know whether or not it was like a multiverse or how he was being introduced into the show, like what his timeline was in comparison to what's going on in the current timeline of WandaVision. But, he's like, yeah, I know I look a little different or fucking whatever. But, I mean, we get that sense of uncertainty because then she's like, well, I don't know how the fuck you're here either, And then again, we do get one of those corpse scenes where we see him dead.
Yeah.
And I liked Visions a lot more.
Yeah, it was more jarring.
Yeah. Oh,
it was a lot more jarring to see
word.
Vision.
Yeah, it was. But
whereas Evans, I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, yeah, but you're not the one that died.
It didn't look as well done.
It didn't carry the weight.
To me, it didn't. I mean, just the visual, it aesthetically wasn't pleasing to me.
Like,
whereas Visions was like, oh shit. But yeah, again, like we have this.
They had the same, like, I guess, aesthetic of their death when.
And then like the bullet holes, obviously.
But yeah, it didn't.
I mean, like the costume.
I don't know why they made him gray. It didn't make sense to me. They should have just pumped him full of bullets, called it a day.
Yeah.
It was strange.
Even like, well, the hair threw it off too for me.
I think the big thing is that it was a different Quicksilver. Like the fact that it was Evan Peters versus Anthony Taylor, Johnson Taylor,
something like that. You're close, but again, it's also a nod to Kick-Ass because I don't know if it's still a thing, but I know. Oh fuck! What is her name? Elizabeth Olsen.
Yeah.
Her and original Pietro are like in real life married, I believe, or were a couple at one point, and now I don't believe that they are. Or I'm just talking shit. I don't know if they are.
Aaron Taylor Johnson. That's his 3 names.
There you go. But yeah, that was also one of those nods for Kick-Ass anyway as well, because Aaron Taylor Johnson was Kick-Ass in the movie, and Evan Peters was a fucking ass kick or whatever.
Ass kicker.
But yeah, and then so when they did the role swap, oh well, that's kind of a tie into Kick-Ass too, because Evan Peters was obviously Pietro in the X-Men series movies, but now he's Quicksilver in WandaVision.
Yeah.
But it's almost that same kind of role reversal where he still is like ass kick or whatever.
Yeah.
He's like the not proper fucking version.
The generic version.
He's the RC Cola. He's the Dr. Thunder. So yeah, the ending of the episode, as it gets into it, Vision goes out to the edge of town, which is like Ellis Street, which I found out is like the illustrator or the writer of that story.
That's what I was figuring when they made it such a prominent thing. I honestly was expecting it to be like Kirby Lane.
Yeah, okay.
Or something like a real obvious nod.
Don't go near, Stanley Avenue.
Yeah.
My boy Stan. I read a thing. I want to say it's fake because there's like several leaks apparently for the show. If you go look for them, like written.
Yeah.
But it's like it's one of those hearsay things. But they were like, oh yeah, like they do have a Stan Lee that's there.
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, he has enough B-roll. Like,
I'm
sure they could.
I would be real fucking sad if they did.
I'm sure they could generate something.
If
Michael Jackson could do a fucking concert.
If Tupac could do
a concert, we can get 5 seconds of Stanley, just
we could get him
Excelsior,
or he's like, hey, young man, that'd be tight.
The costume always fits. Like,
we also got the Yo Magic commercial, which threw me off a little, but it also, like, the way I took it, it was, the tagline is the snack is for survivors, but the way I read it was like Yo Magic, like it's yours, it's Yo Magic. That's what's feeding you. But the notes that they have here is one of the freakiest moments in episode 6 is the commercial for Yo Magic yogurt. The tagline, the snack for survivors. It doesn't seem to be a reference to Wanda's past, but in this case, it seems like the reference is to the situation that the residents of Westview find themselves in last week's episode, as well as this week's. We've seen the harmful, isolating effects of Wanda's magic, of Yo Magic. So, and that's why it's depicted as a little boy that's stuck on an island and can't eat. And that's what's satiating him anyway, is the magic. Also, we have a nod to The Incredibles and Parent Trap. Parent Trap being two siblings from basically opposite worlds, whereas it's basically like the Prince and the Pauper type situation, where one sibling is poor and isn't doing that great, and the other one is like living the life and is like of
esteem.
There you go, good word. And then they role reversal, or they collide anyway, and so that's basically where they tied it into, as far as like with the different Pietros, and then the Incredibles being
just a family with superpowers.
Yeah, small town family trying to be secret until they can't be secret anymore. And then it's also a nod to, outside of the realm of Disney, where it's, a shout out to some of their other...
Yeah, just other properties that they have.
Yeah. Again, Ellis Avenue. Agnes's Halloween costume, in one of the scenes that we see when Vision does get to Ellis Street, and he sees like to where it goes back to whether or not, or to what extent Wanda controls the residents of Westview. We start seeing that a lot of them are stuck in like this loop, this animatronic state, and like a very Get Out type of way, like with the lady hanging up the decoration, she's fucking crying.
Yeah. I think that just shows how, they're all, like we were saying earlier, that they're all aware of what's happening. They just don't have the willpower to
fight
stop it. Whereas like Monica Rambeau did. That's why she was able to talk about Ultron and Pietro. whereas these other regular citizens just don't have the willpower to deny Wanda, like her.
But Vision comes across Agnes, again, unfreezes her, well, taps into her mind. And she's like, oh, you're the Vision, you're part of the Avengers. And he's like, well, what the fuck is the Avengers? Like, what is that? And we also get the fact that Agnes, or Agatha at this point, is in a witch costume. During her little like speech that she's giving Vision, she starts cackling. And people were like, "Oh, that's Agatha Harkness." But at that time, it still wasn't clear. To which, I mean, now it is basically. But that was one of those things as well, is that we weren't at that point. We were like, "Oh, well, it's all Wanda," because look at we thought it was Agnes, but she's also like all fucked, and she can't find her way around this town that she grew up in, and whatever. But I mean, it's not the case now. One of the last things to mention for the episode is the idea of the aerospace engineer that we didn't fucking get.
Sticking to my guns.
Well,
Patsy Walker.
So also the cataract file, which again ties into the source material from the comics where Vision is just turned into White Vision, and he's his human kind of consciousness. But yeah, the aerospace engineer was a fucking big one.
Apparently, Patsy Walker showed up in the Netflix Marvel shows.
Like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Defenders.
Oh, shit.
Apparently she was in... Maybe they can tie that into... Since they did just get the rights back for
a lot of...
I think all the Netflix series. I think they have the rights for all of them.
So again. I know Daredevil and Punisher were the first two. And then as of late, it was like Jessica Jones and...
Luke Cage.
Both of them?
Maybe Iron Fist. I think they have all but the rights. Like
at this
everything
point,
but one. Like
at this point, I wouldn't mind seeing a new Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think that'd be pretty tight. But it's like S.H.I.E.L.D. is not defunct, but like not.
It's not. It's
just not around, right?
No, it is.
Is it?
Yeah, it's still. I mean, in a smaller
like capacity.
Yeah, they occupy a much smaller space. That's why we have Sword now, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think those two organizations are going to...
Oh, well, I think Hayward said, like, since we're moving up to the sky or whatever, right?
Yeah, that's Sword is up in space.
In space. But also, aside from that, is apparently there's a strong comparison going on with Vision's... the closing scene where Vision's dying again.
And when he was leaving the Hex?
The Hex. And there's a real strong tie-in with his death in Infinity War. Oh no! Well, he was killed. Fuck. So there isn't. He just
I think you're thinking about when Thanos killed him, not when Wanda did.
Yeah.
It's very similar in the in WandaVision. He was pulling himself away from the Hex, and in Infinity War, when Wanda he was standing his ground, so that way she could do it.
Well,
so they had a similar like visual look to it. And everything, and I guess if you want to break it down, Wanda is the one that killed him twice.
Now that we're current, this is in reference to episode 7. Episode 7 being the, I want to say it's the predecessor to what's going to lead up to, like, from what I've read, because this is based on like stuff that Paul Bettany said and Elizabeth Olsen as well. I think even Fahey said some stuff about it, but I think these last 3 episodes are going to be very fulfilling as far as like fan service. I know Bettany said some really positive stuff about it, and Elizabeth Olsen has
2 episodes.
Is it 2?
It's 2. 8 and 9. That's all we get.
Oh, I read something that it was like an even 10.
At least, I mean, that's from what I'm seeing right here on IMDb.
Oh shit!
It has it listed as 9 episodes. I could have swore I saw that it was 9 episodes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But I think 8 and 9 are gonna push like an hour.
Yeah.
Length.
So, but yeah, they both had some pretty like positive things to say about like how the show is gonna leave us, and in terms of like the ongoing story, which is like cool because it's I guess it's gonna leave us with like a lot to desire following up some of the movies coming up.
Yeah, well, we'll get. 2 weeks between the end of WandaVision to the beginning of Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure Winter Soldier. I'm sure that's gonna have.
It's gonna be so good.
It's gonna have some tie-ins to what's happening with WandaVision. I couldn't imagine that they're not gonna mention it.
Well,
they're gonna be like, "Oh, did you hear what happened?" Like, just a real quick comment, just, "Oh, New Jersey," or something to that effect.
In Far From Home, when Sam Jack has to get up after Talos calls him and is like, "Hey, like, I'm getting a lot of questions and I don't know how to. It's like I need some help or whatever."
Yeah.
And Sam Jack gets up. I guess when he's like initially when he gets up, he looks at a screen and there is a hex on it. He is seeing that there's an anomaly going on, and they're saying that it's current to what's because Far From Home would have been going on during this timeline, right?
It'd be like running alongside with.
But yeah, they're basically saying we're seeing as fans. It's like Fury is seeing this anomaly that is happening, either currently or like he's seeing like he's seeing the beginning of it or like the middle of it. You like while it's happening real time, you know. I don't know if that's just like a fucking theory, like an internet theory, or if it's just. I mean, if it is like a something that they might tie in, I don't know. It'd be real fucking cool to see Samuel Jackson show up. Because Paul Bettany also put out a quote that so within these next 2 episodes, they're introducing
we're getting that cameo.
We're getting a cameo that
we're getting that Mandalorian cameo.
Yeah, like one of like a real epic cameo. But now taking that into account, I'm like, it could be Sam Jack just shows up. You don't think so? It'd go full.
I feel like it'd be a letdown.
Or full shield anyway.
I feel like it'd be maybe, but I feel like it'd be a little letdown, like
just
with that, like because they showed us Evan Peters already. Like I don't see Sam Jackson, like I don't see his cameo surpassing the fact that we have X-Men in this show.
One of the other ones is Ian McKellen, just to make like the blatant tie into fucking House of M.
Yeah, that'd get the pop.
Dude, that would do it. Because at that point they would end the series with him taking Wanda to Genosha, and he'd just be like, "We're out." He's like, "This is my daughter. We're out. I have someone that can help her." It would be Charles. It'd be Charles, and then Doctor Strange. But I mean, they're the ones who ultimately cause her to break and make the House of M. Which apparently Elizabeth Olsen has been pushing for House of M. She
had talked about it, and she talked about the fact that the MCU is just too...
Like, there's multiple interviews where she's like, there's one storyline that I love, and I feel like it's too
dark for the MCU.
Yeah, so
for
along
what
those
they
lines.
do.
But she was like, I would love to do it because it's so... what did she say? That it's like something close to like it's like the sophistication of the story, like the breakdown of it anyway. But with episode 7, we are taking a lot of heavy influence from 2000 sitcoms, which are The Office, Parks and Rec, Modern Family. It'd be sick to see Steve Carell.
He just comes out as Michael. He just comes out
as... Well, that's why a lot of people were saying that they were going to do the Reed Richards like reveal.
I could see
because Krasinski was in the Office, right?
Yeah, he's Jim.
I was going to say Parks and Rec, but like they were going to give those little confessionals.
And
it's just going to show up, be like Reed Richards. I don't know what's going on here. Aerospace engineer. It's fucking sick, but yeah. So we do get those tones. Wanda wakes up, still wearing the costume. So this is like just the next fucking day that this episode takes place. It takes place directly on November 1st. And we still have a lot of heavy ties in from the previous episode. Wanda, which she ends up doing is creating a larger radius of the hex anyway.
Yeah, she expands the hex.
And what we end up seeing is that she turns, what I thought was hella funny is the fact that she turned the sword agents, the field agents, into a circus. And then like they're all clowns. We see the kids open up and they're like, "Mom, you need to wake up. Like, our video game's acting weird." And they're starting off with like a modern controller, which was a fucking GameCube controller. Or
was it?
It could have been for the.
I thought they had a joystick.
For the Switch.
I thought they had a joystick.
It went GameCube controller to like a Wii controller, the nunchuck.
Yeah.
To I want to say like the joystick and then to Uno, the cards.
I also thought I could have swore that I saw a Nintendo 64 control in their hands at one point.
It might have.
But
I know it went like sequentially.
Yeah.
It was Nintendo and it just went sequentially. But then it went to Uno at the end and a joystick, which I mean, it's probably just an Atari tie-in, but
Nintendo made cards.
Did they?
Yeah, originally Nintendo's like a really old company from like late 1800s. They made playing cards.
No way, really?
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're seeing that Wanda doesn't have a lot of control of what's going on. She ends up asking Agnes to help her out with the kids so that she can take a day to herself. Vision is seen waking up in the field from where he was. He taps into Darcy. Well, he finds Darcy, taps into her. And Darcy reveals to him like everything that she knows, current up until like what's going on in the timeline. And he's like, oh, you know, we got to get back to my wife to go see what's up. And they start this long trek back to their home, but there's like several obstacles in their way. And Vision makes the distinction of saying like, I have the feeling that someone doesn't want me to get home, or Wanda doesn't want me to get home, something like that. And I mean, now I think it's fair to say that it's probably Agatha who's doing that.
Yeah, that's a fair assumption.
Or Mephisto. I don't know.
Can't be giving credit to someone that doesn't exist.
Can't write it off. No. But it ends up being that we're seeing more of these the confessionals from Wanda and what's going on, but we end up leading to the kids being with Agnes now for the first time in her home, and what we're seeing, and Billy, who is Wiccan, like Vic said, has like that telekinesis. And he says, you know, I like it here. It's quiet, or it's not loud.
It's quiet.
And he's like, he tells Agnes, or then Agnes, he's like, you're quiet, right? Like you're quiet.
Yeah,
like,
he told her that she's
like,
quiet.
I don't hear anything.
There's no noise.
Yeah. Which, I mean, for me, I'm like, if she's a magic user as well, she can probably like block that off.
Yeah, I mean, different than like
it's like in Harry Potter. They made the barrier.
I was gonna say Soul Eater.
Oh, all right.
I was gonna say Soul Eater when they use Soul Protect.
I was thinking Harry Potter when they were hiding in the woods.
But yeah, that works too.
Hey, you know, tomato. Wanda eventually. Well, first Monica does enter the hex. She does now have powers of some kind, whether they are mutant or whether they're just acquiring the effects from the hex anyway, entering it and leaving it and entering it again. But she is now Photon, you know,
or soon to be
Photon anyway. She can see the radiation from the hex, like as she's walking in, or once she does get in.
It looked like she was able to see like the electrocurrents, like the current of electricity.
Yeah. So that's like one of the first signs that we see from her, almost like a sensory kind of thing. Her eyes change a distinct color and she's like, she can see everything that's going on.
Hypercosmic awareness. It's what it's listed as.
We do see that she does find Wanda. She just walks straight into fucking Wanda's house and starts trying to talk to her. Wanda's not having it. Wanda also like takes the offensive almost like right away. It's like, you know, why are you back? Like, how'd you get in here? And it's like, oh, you know, like I'll fucking get rid of you again. And we see Monica take up that challenge. And she's like, oh, you know, she shows off a little of what she can do. Well, she lands anyway, and it gives off like an EMP pulse. And she's like, we'll do it. Come on. And I think it stirs Wanda astray a little. She's like, oh shit, like maybe I shouldn't engage anyway. But almost like clockwork, Agnes intervenes and is like, you know, you need to get out of here and fuck off. But she then takes Wanda back to her house, where the scene itself, Agnes is like, you know, I need to make you some tea, which I think is also a theme in the comics as well. She's like, you know, let me make you some tea so that you can feel better or whatever. And
I think it's just a nod to the fact that she's a nanny in the comics. I think it's just I think so.
Wanda's looking around and there's a very supernatural vibe where it's like flies or moths anyway. She's like, you know, it's really quiet. Like, where are the kids? And Agnes is, you know, very like, oh, probably in the basement. And so we see Wanda enter the basement and into almost like in the vein of a Sleeping Beauty, where rather than like a thorns like covering the walls, it's vines, which we don't know where the vines are fucking coming from either. But Wanda enters basically like Agnes's lair, to where Agnes now reveals herself as Agatha and is like, oh, you know, the name's Agatha Harkness and you're not the only magic girl around here or something. And we get just like a fucking banger intro.
It was always Agatha.
Dude, that's
a good song.
That song was really good. It was really well done. I was reading something that the actress Catherine Hahn apparently has a musical background.
So apparently there was like discrepancies in that she was the one singing it.
Yeah.
Like people didn't think it was her. I don't know. When I watched it, it was like very clearly her voice.
I didn't catch it right away.
It didn't make sense to me that people were like, "Oh, that's not her. That's just some other person." I'm like, "What?"
I didn't catch that right away. Anyway, yeah. After the Agatha reveal, I had no clue that Catherine Hahn had any past in music. Anyway, and then after reading it and going back and rewatching the episode, I was like, "Oh, that's totally her. Oh, there's no way that's not her." So yeah, so we get the Agatha Harkness reveal, and it turns out that she had her hand in manipulation or manipulating some of the setting as far as the show was going on. I think one of the big ones for me was the introduction of Pietro, where it showed her doing her little fucking thing on the front yard,
creating him.
So that's the thing. Was she manipulating a body of someone from other shit that I was reading? But it's one of those rabbit hole things where it's like, did we get a multiverse Pietro? Like, did she pull him from, like, when he says, you know, I heard your voice and all of a sudden I'm here. And it's like, did she manipulate that and just kind of make it look like the other Pietro? Or
it's the only way it makes sense to tie
or is it just
to tie everything in? It doesn't make sense to bring Evan Peters over
and just to introduce him,
to be like, oh yeah, this is Quicksilver from X-Men. But he's not the Quicksilver from X-Men. It's actually just an identical
like a
replica.
copy.
Like it's not. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to make a copy of him when she has the power to just bring him over.
And then also the fucking rap of the jingle where she's like, and I killed Sparky too, and she fucking laughs about it.
Yeah,
which is real cool. But some notable things within just that ending, I guess, from just like the little bit that they show of her lair. There's a spell book or a grimoire, whatever you want to call it. I didn't think anything of it. From what I was reading, it's the Dark Hold. That's it's like a notable book in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as well as in Doctor Strange. I think in Doctor Strange they talk about it. There's like a certain amount of books that are like the forbidden books or the books that they use to do whatever, and the Dark Hold is one of them.
Okay.
And it's closely ties into utilizing dark magic and like the dark dimension and whatever. But I guess in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., apparently that's one of the first times that we see it. If it were the Dark Hold, the incredibly powerful book would have been written by Chthon, a demon elder god who was figured prominently in various Wanda and Agatha Harkness stories over the years. I think he's also like a prominent character in Doctor Strange as well, but they're saying that again it could just be a variant or it could just be a similar looking book. Also, there is still no sign or no confirmed aerospace engineer, and so people are kind of hoping that it is Reed Richards, especially because of the sitcom setting that it's in. So they don't know if the next following episodes will still hold that same theme, or if they'll at least hold it for like one more episode, and then the final episode being just like a cinematic setting.
I would imagine the next episode is reported to be 47 minutes long. So I would imagine that this is they'll probably break away from like the sitcom situation at some point soon. I can't imagine it's going to carry on after this. We're current now in like the timeline.
Yeah.
So it's not like any of the agents. It's not like Darcy's watching WandaVision.
No, she's now in WandaVision.
She's in, yeah. So it's not like there's no performance anymore.
Yeah.
At this point, Wanda's basically just trying to fight for her life, because we don't know what Agatha's doing.
Apparently, also, what was noted is, and I thought it was just like an internet thing, but it's like when Agnes is dragging Wanda into her house, Wanda points at Monica, and the whole thing is framed in the likeness of the meme of the two ladies yelling at the white cat.
Yeah. You didn't see that? You didn't catch it?
I didn't catch it at first.
Oh,
no.
I caught that.
I had a
That was a little nod.
fun fact: the white cat's name is Smudge.
It's interesting that they did that. Like they did the likeness of that meme after the Snyder Cut trailer was dropped, and he has Joker say, "We live in a society."
Yeah,
I thought that was kind of funny that Marvel and DC both made references to like memes.
apparently in that ending sequence there is a bloom of a flower that could be seen. That's known as a Wundagore. The Wundagore Everbloom. In the Marvel Comics, the Everbloom was a wedding present from Agatha Harkness to Wanda and Vision, and it only grows on Wundagore Mountain, where Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver were raised. Sokovia. It lets you see the future if you put a dab on your tongue. Whatever this seems to be, it's assumed that this is also indirect, like the setting of the way the vines are and stuff. It's setting for it, kind of, I guess, gives more tie-in to the Yo Magic commercial, which implied that it was feeding off of Wanda's powers as well. And then again, we get the full, not full, but more of like an encapsulation of this introduction to Agatha Harkness as a new, like, foreboding character, whether she's like really strong, or like you said, if she's just testing the merit of who Wanda is and there is like a bigger bad.
I think there has to be. I don't think Agnes is. I think she's just testing the merit.
Again, it's also, the setting is an altar for something greater, being that the Darkhold is there. And I guess if you look hard enough, I have to go and fucking rewatch it again, but there is a ram-like head, or the skull that's mounted over the Darkhold. And they're saying that could also be a tie-in to fucking Mephisto. It could just be a fucking ram head, dude. I mean, if you're trying to keep it within with an occult vibe, and being that they're using chaos magic, and if this Darkhold ties into the Dark Realm and whatever other themes that they're pulling from, it could just be a fucking altar. They could just be trying to tie in like realistic themes of witchcraft within, like, to fit a fictional setting. I mean, because that in the actual source material, they do deem it chaos magic, I guess, like what Wanda harnesses.
Yeah. And
so there is a sense of magic being something tangible or obtainable, at least. I mean, aside from that, like in New Mutants, you have Magic and Lockheed, who Magic is a metahuman as well, but she also is they use her, I think, to experiment with the power of magic. And then we also get Monica Rambeau coming up to Agatha's house and trying to get into her basement, and Evan Peters pops up and startles her, takes her by surprise anyway, in the post-credit scene. So leading into the next couple episodes, the next two anyway, we have certain things that it's like whether or not the Hex is going to be expanding more, how much Agatha Harkness really does have like influence on what's going on, if there is a bigger bad going on, whether it be a Mephisto. Nightmare is also one of those.
Yeah, I can see that.
I read Dormammu because of Baron Mordo still being around, but it's like because I think the original theme was,
I think you have to look at it realistically and like who those villains' heroes
like,
are. It'd be difficult to have Dormammu show up where Thor's fucking who knows where with the Guardians right now.
Yeah.
So who's gonna show up to fight? I mean, I guess Doctor Strange could do. I mean, obviously, but
I don't know because I think WandaVision was originally, like, what was said was that it was going to tie in directly to Multiverse of Madness, right?
I think so.
To Doctor Strange?
I believe so.
So it's going to have to be something where the two will intertwine. There has to be some kind of like theme that ties them together.
So yeah,
So
confused Dormammu and Surtur. Surtur, yeah, that's what I confused those two together right now. So I guess Doctor Strange could be the cameo.
I wouldn't mind it.
I guess
I wouldn't mind it, but we'll see. Some of the notes they have here for unanswered questions. When we saw the first flashback to the borders of the Hex expanding, sympathy for the devil is playing, and is that a clue as to Mephisto? Also with Pietro saying something like,
Nicholas Scratch is it's a nod to the devil.
The devil, yeah.
Yeah, his name is a nod to the devil. So,
I think, but Pietro had some other quote that was other than like the demon spawn, and he's like, "Go forth, the demon spawn," and he's like, "Blood is thicker than water. I'll show you." At some point, he says that like in the beginning, like when he pops off the couch. But he also says something to Wanda along the same lines of, something with the devil or whatever. But in the middle intro, one of the screens says, "I know what you were doing, Wanda." So that's a thing. Does Darcy know a lot more than she's revealed now to Vision? And then will Vision act more on some of the information that he's been given? Right after Agnes leads Wanda away from the conversation with Monica, we see Dennis the mailman wearing a logo that says Presto, perfect exclamation considering that Agnes is and was trying to do harm, or so we think. Also, with Presto being an Amazon knockoff, the logo appears to be a rabbit running. I guess that's the thing too. The mailman is supposedly Mephisto. The mailman.
Yeah, everyone. Sparky was,
Have you seen that fucking that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood meme of DiCaprio doing he's like, "Oh look, there I am."
Yeah.
But it was like, it's just like panels of different characters. So like, there's Mephisto, there's Mephisto.
Yeah, at this point, everyone is Mephisto.
If we get it, that would be funny. And then one of the last things that they have noted, at the circus, the butterfly lady on the unicycle looks a lot like the character that was introduced in X-Men. The knockoff Angel from First Class, which...
The Mecha? The Mecha Angel?
No. In X-Men First Class, they recruited an African-American girl that had butterfly wings.
Okay.
And she was under the moniker Angel. She was like, everybody calls me Angel. She was like a stripper. In the X-Men, she was something totally different. She's known as Pixie. The way that everything's set up, we have plenty to draw from as far as usable theories, but we can only theorize and then just see how like the story plays out. What I'm looking forward to is more of just like a fluid transition into if the tie-in really is going to be there for Doctor Strange and for the multiverse. It's just something.
I think it makes the most sense.
I think that's more. I'd like just a more like an acceptable payoff, as a fan. Like all theories aside, they're doing a good job in the sense that they're leaving a lot to the imagination to where what we can assume and what ends up being like the physical property that they show us anyway. So far it's fucking great. I like it.
I was the first time I watched the episode, that mid-credit scene when Pietro runs up and he just says Snooper's gonna snoop, I assumed that he was still being controlled by Agatha. Now that I'm thinking about it, he could have his free will and he's trying to figure out what's going on because he isn't in his reality. Because he knows that's not the Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
That he's supposed to know. So who's to say that he's not gonna team up with Monica?
Like now that control's broken and the attention's on Wanda.
Yeah.
Because I assume in that for that take, because Wanda is so volatile and as strong as she is, that Agatha would have to put all her attention on.
They're equal class.
On Wanda anyway.
They're on par with each other.
That would be cool. That would be cool as shit.
Yeah. So.
In saying that, I read I read something where people were like, oh, well, that's uncharacteristic of...
It did seem strange.
We have the Pietro that was given to us in Age of Ultron, and then the Pietro that was painted in the last 3 X-Men movies of that series.
Yep.
Where he is very snarky and like in a sense, like a lost kid. So he does have kind of like a, I don't know what you would say, like he has an attitude. But I mean, I don't think it differs that much from like the way he was acting at the end.
It seemed out of character for what the Pietro is that we've had in WandaVision so far. Like it just seemed like a behavior change, and what we've seen in the last couple episodes, just to ignore everything we've seen from X-Men. I
mean, he did show up, like just in that last part, he seemed very flat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just super, like there wasn't like a personality behind it, or like a...
Yeah, it was very monotone.
Yeah. Whereas the other ones were punchy, but still like his character, his likeness was very like
yeah, there
iffy.
wasn't that smirk of you didn't see that coming.
Yeah, it was
delivered very, very flat. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the last 2 episodes could be anything. Really, they've painted it in that way that even with there being source material, we really don't know like what's...
Well, they're pulling from so many different sources.
From what I was reading, there's like, I want to say between 5 and 7 different stories that they're using.
Yeah.
But it's
I wouldn't be surprised. I'm
like,
sure some of it's like original stuff that they're doing for the characters that they've created so far. Because, yeah. I mean, you can't do everything comic accurate.
No, and you have to. They're painting pretty broadly for what they have available. I mean, you know, with what they're using. So,
yeah, especially with like the restrictions that the franchise was facing early on.
Oh
it backed them into corners with certain things. Especially, I mean, as simple as not being able to call them mutants.
No, yeah.
So it's like gifted children.
They're meta. So yeah. I mean, it's up in the air as of right now, but. I think there's plenty to utilize. I think there's plenty, especially utilizing the multiverse. So with just that's like a broad enough stroke. I don't know, but so far it's been like really good. I've liked it. I've enjoyed it. But now I'm really looking forward to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and then Loki. Like we've been saying, Marvel's coming out heavy right now this year. Marvel's giving us a lot. Like for just being limited to series as for now anyway, up until we get Black Widow and then,
but the
Celestials in March.
So Black Widow is slated for May 7th, Shang-Chi July 9th, Eternals November 5th, and the Untitled Spider-Man December 17th. So what we're supposed to be getting this year. Movie-wise, there's other stuff we're gonna get from Disney Plus, but.
Oh, I'm looking forward to What If, too.
Yeah.
What If is going to be fucking dope. Anyway, that has been the episode. Hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you guys are watching along with WandaVision the way we are, because we're generally enthused about it. Shout out to the steadily growing Facebook community that we have. That's pretty fucking cool. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it. This was a very in-depth talk. Yeah, thank you guys for the support. Catch us on the socials. This is the Dadless Podcast. I am the Elder Dadless.
I'm the Roaming Nomad.
Thank you guys very much, and we will see you soon. Thanks.
Who are you, really?
My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Come for me, Gmork! I am a traitor!
You are beaten. It is useless to resist. Don't let yourself be destroyed.
Offer me everything I ask for. Anything you want. I want my father back, you son of a bitch.
I am your father.
That's my son! This is my boy! It's my boy!
That's impossible!
You're laughing. Someone was killed today because of what you did.
I know. How about another joke, Murray?
Where you son of a...
Fuck you.
None of you seem to understand. I'm not locked in here with you.
in here with me!
You're still my dog of war. I understand your pain.
Actually, when we're all tickled to hear you say that.
You shall have your revenge. Iron Man. Good night. And always remember, that's